In this video, we're going to be answering the #1 question that every runner asks. Should you be running in miles or kilometers? Good morning and welcome to the Lee Valley on a beautiful morning, and I've got way too many layers on, as has Toby. Al's done the right thing, but we're going to have to stop and get rid of this in a minute. But anyway, not here for that. You're here to find out, like I said at the start, the answer to the #1 question that every runner asks, which is, should you run in miles or kilometers? So in this video, we're going to try and answer that. So if you're new to running, you might go and get yourself a GPS watch, or you might get yourself a smartphone and then get Strava and start timing everything and measuring your distances. And some runners, and I would say it's probably about 50-50, go kilometres, some in miles. Now, I appreciate some countries have got different systems as well. So if you're like from Europe, you're more likely to be in kilometres and stuff like that. So there is a little bit of that towards it. But the thing is, you start running, you start sort of doing everything in K probably, because you're running couch to 5K, and then all of a sudden it might start talking about miles. So which is it? Now, I put some stuff out on my socials, and I've got loads of feedback, so thanks very much to everybody who commented on all that sort of stuff. And again, it showed a real clear split between miles and kilometres. So let us know in the comments before I give you my opinion on what do you work off, miles, kilometres, and more importantly, why. So let us know in the comments. Right, so actually, before I give you my insight, let's talk to these two who, believe it or not, are qualified running coaches. So let's start off with Coach Toby first. Toby, KM or miles?
Miles.
But why?
Just because I always have. I mean, there's no real science behind it.
Just because you always have?
Well, because before I started running, I was biking.
Yeah, I was going to say
And
that.
that was always in miles. I know that, you know, a lot of biking do kilometres, but I was just always, because I understand miles.
Yeah.
Whereas kilometres, I'd have to work it all out.
We do argue a lot, as you may have seen on the channel, between miles and kilometres. And that's one of the reasons for this video. I'll come on to that in a minute. So, Coach Al,
Yes,
miles or kilometres?
well, it's funny you should say that. When I started my running journey, I was in kilometres.
Why?
Well, my running buddy was German,
Ah, okay.
so I had to learn to convert. But since I've upgraded my watch, I'm in miles.
Yeah.
The reason why is I can't work out how to put it back to kilometres. So I'm sticking with miles.
That is a top tip from Alan, who's a qualified coach. If your watch, you can't work out how to use your watch, do whatever it says on there. That's
cool.
But in all seriousness, Al, you did make a good point. You started off in kilometres.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'd go back now.
Yeah.
I've kind of
Been converted.
Well, I've also found a few routes that tie in quite nicely in terms of absolute miles. So a 4-mile route and a 7-mile route.
Yeah.
So working on miles now just kind of works. I don't have to convert back.
Yeah.
Before I was getting to the end of the route, 4 miles, and then trying to do the old mental maths.
But the runners, let's say the runners you get coming through, that you coach, and I'll tell about mine in a minute, but are they starting off in K? Are they Ks or are they miles?
I think the majority are on Ks because of that couch to 5K.
Yeah.
Psychologically, pardon me, just get rid of my COVID. They do tick over a bit quicker than miles.
Yeah.
So if you're out on a 10K route, you're just getting that feedback
Yeah, quicker.
more often
Yeah, quicker.
than you would do as if you was in miles.
That's
And
interesting.
I think
Yeah.
once you kind of move up in consistency of your running, then perhaps the miles is a better measure, because you can just find the groove and you're not constantly looking at your watch.
That's a really good point with the KM. If you are on KM, the one thing you are exercising while you're out running is your watch, your wrist, because you're just going like this the whole time. That's interesting. Two bits of feedback. Right, hold tight, 'cause I'm going to give you mine. So firstly, I've always run in kilometres. That is because when I started running I was in kilometres, and I like to get the splits quicker, so I know where I'm at. So as someone who started off running to pace and trying to manage pace, I found my splits were easier coming to kilometres, and even when I moved up to the marathon distance, I just held that and carried on using kilometres. I find with my runners that I get, especially the newbies, that I said, they do come through in kilometres. Now today we are making a change. For the first time ever, my long run today is in miles. I switched over for this 18 miler to find out what it's like in terms of running to miles, and there is a reason behind that. So I'll be interested to get the results of today's run. Alright, but my thinking is for the 26.2 miles, the marathon training, the long runs, to go in miles, to get that consistency over the sort of longer splits, I think is key. And I think it's much easier to manage, even like 6 mile in, it's been much easier to manage than if I was running in KM. I think, and this is where I'm going to confuse you and I'll probably make your life worse, but if I was doing 10k training, I was running a 10k or 5k park run, I'd stay in kilometres, because I want to know those splits. I want to know when I'm out the gates, I want to know where I'm at after a kilometre. I want to manage my pace as quickly as I can, as quickly as I can get the info. I want to know what it is, which is why for 5k, 10k training, personally I'd recommend being in kilometres. It's like, I don't know, you're just getting more information quicker. Half marathon's a funny one. I think half marathon training, I will stay in kilometres. So if I'm working towards a half marathon goal, I will stay in kilometres, because I want to manage, got a load of flies down here, I want to manage the pace early again. But that said, I might race in miles, because I think even with a half marathon, it's all about consistency, but finding that speed early and holding it, which I think you can get in miles. So yeah, I don't know, it is a funny one. I don't think I've helped. I've kind of said do both, but I think as you get more experience, or maybe you are an experienced runner, I think personally it's worth doing both, because I think there's pluses for both. There's gains to be had from working in both, if you obviously can compute that. So my point to you, before we get to the end of the video and work out whether I did enjoy it, because obviously we're only mile 6 into 18, but if you can compute it, I'd really recommend you using both. I think it can be a tool that we don't use as much as we should, because I think it can be powerful, especially using the miles over the marathon distance, and using it on your long runs, because you've got to use, I would say, what you do on those long runs out on race day at the marathon. Okay, right, so that's where I'm at. I'm going to finish this run. We'll get 18 miles in the bag, and then I'll sum it up real quick at the end, because otherwise it's going to be about a 15-hour video. So I'll catch you guys at the end. Oh, so that's it. Miles, KM to miles, done. I'm just looking at my stats coming up actually. Training status, unproductive. Thanks for that. 18 miles and unproductive. Gotta love Garmin. Anyway, to conclude, yeah, I go back to my point originally, which was, I think that personally there's a benefit for using both, and maybe we're too stuck in our ways just staying with one. I think if you're marathon training, I would do it in miles, because the race is in miles, and do those long runs, but switch it up for your speed work and do your speed work in kilometres. And if you're doing 10k races, 5k races, do them in kilometres. There is that question, as I said, around the half marathon, which way to go, and I think I'll play with it on the half marathon. I don't think there's any right or sort of wrong way of doing a half marathon in terms of kilometres and things like that. Yeah, But in terms of the feedback from today, doing the 18 miles in miles was much easier mentally for me, especially working at goal pace today, I believe, than doing it in kilometres. So there we go. Have we answered the question that everybody's asking in the running world? Kilometres or miles? I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments. Right. I'm going to get some drink. I'll catch you guys later.